Hello, I hope you're there. Do you hear me now?
Yep, you're all good.
Wow. Phew, that was a lot of fun. Well, so this is what happens when you learn new things. And tonight we're learning that I don't have the best internet connection to do a Google Hangout. So we spent several hours today trying to make sure that we could get the connection to go, and every time we got it up and running, it would kick me off again and say we lost the Hangout and we lost the connection. So thank you, our savior. Wave hello. Our counseling gig job, wave hello. Thank goodness you're there. He has come to the rescue and actually put it on his so that I'm the guest in while he has it. So that if I lose connectivity, well, you can all chat with him while I try to get back on. So I've got my volume up. We didn't get any practice time because we've just been getting connected. So here we are. And this is the life of school counselors. You punt, and that's often what has to happen. So it's interesting. There was someone that emailed today. I was reading the, I'm going to come over here. I have my computer on the left, and I'm going to have this computer here. So I was reading a note from Philip Miller. And Philip, is he there? Now, how will I know if Philip's in today?
So you just talk, keep going, and we're not going to know whether or not people are here.
Okay, how do I know who's here? Are people chatting? I can watch that. I can answer questions. Any of that fun?
Yep, so you can check on Twitter. I'll also feed you some questions towards the end that I'll watch from Twitter, and I'll gather a few questions for you. How about that?
Terrific. Okay, now here it is. Guys, I want you to, anyone who's showing up, I want you to all notice. You see how this is awkward for me? It's new. I'm learning. It's hard. And share results. So I'm doing it anyway. It's challenging at the internet. Philip had said that it was a challenge him and others to do the process because he wasn't really sure whether or not there was time to add data and collecting data and results. But I said to him, you know, it depends on whether or not you're adding something to your plate or whether or not you're getting a new plate and starting with the data first. And that's really what I hope we can do, is begin to start with the data and look at the data and begin to decide how will we do our program based on what the data says our needs are. So one of the challenges we're going to have tonight is that all of my documents that I plan to show you are sitting on my laptop, which is not on the laptop I'm on now. So we're going to figure that out. One of the first things I thought I would do tonight, though, is share with you two important documents. I believe I tweeted that out today, that have just come up recently. And we did retitle this Hatching Results Happy Hour. So before I do that, I just want to say, if you're on the East Coast, shout out to all of you. I'm thinking you're hunkered down. Uh-oh, somebody tweeted. Look at that. I'm checking to see. Hold on. We're going to look and see. You know, I'm figuring this out as I go along. We are all going to work this out. I am here and excited to hear from you, sharing with. This is great. Thank you very much. Tell me to hang in there and keep trying. This is what I'm going to do with you with results and data. You hang in there. You keep trying. I'm going to have Jeff to help me. You're going to have me to help you. We're going to all help each other. That's how it's going to work. So take a deep breath. It's Friday night. It's supposed to be happy hour. I'm not allowed to have a glass of wine until I get halfway through this, but you can have one now. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to let you take a moment while you get a little glass, and whatever it is you want or not. Because I'm recording, I'll do Pellegrino. Oh, by the way, did you notice over here, I'm celebrating the New School Counselor magazine. Shouting out, very nice, right here, on display, right there. Congratulations, those. Okay, so let's toast to a great week. Uh-oh, that one fell. Happy National School Counselor Week to all of you school counselors out there doing amazing things. Cheers to you. Okay, well, as long as we're doing cheers, let's talk about miracles. Now, I don't purport to be a solution-focused guru. But I do know that in solution-focused, there's something called the miracle question. And if you remember what it goes like, the miracle question says, if you woke up tomorrow morning and a miracle occurred, what would it be? Well, I wanted to tell you that a miracle has occurred in school counseling profession, and it is connected to data and results, and that's what I want to start with first. So I'm going to do a screen share in a second. I'm going to hope this works out. Oh, hold on. I'm going to pull up a document. Let's hope it's the one I want. Then I'm going to screen share it with you all, so patience, patience, patience. So let's see if I can find it here. Is that the right one? Well, I'll just do this one. Let's pull up the White House document. Now's the time. And now I'm going to do a screen share, and we'll see what happens. Let's hope that this works. And you're going to give me the high five?
Not yet.
Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Have y'all seen this document? Well, I hope so. So you have everything. You have that now? Is it on the full screen? Are we splitting?
They're seeing the document right now. You're all good.
Good, perfect. All right, thanks. Just keep me posted. So if you haven't seen this document, this is an amazing one. And this Now's the Time document was just released by this earlier in January. And this is the proposal. And you'll notice right here, 2 out of the 4 say making schools safer and access to mental health. You're probably wondering, what's this got to do with results? I'm getting there. Hold on. Lean back. Take a deep breath. Relax. We're going to go through the first 2 quickly because that's not what we're talking about here today. But we're going to go a little further down. If you haven't seen this document, it's available online at thewhitehouse.org. And you can look at this on the right-hand side of the whitehouse.org. You can download it actually yourself. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here and show you something. You notice right here, if you haven't seen this one yet, that it says that they're going to make schools safer and that each school is different and should have the flexibility to address its pressing needs. And then it says, either way, a district should be able to choose what is best to protect its students. So it says schools can either have trained and armed police or they may prefer school counseling services. Now, how will schools decide? What should they have? Trained school counselors or armed services? And herein lies a very important question for school counselors. Imagine you're sitting in front of your school board and they're having this conversation. My question to you would be, what would be the right thing for them to say? Well, I would certainly hope they would pick school counselors. The problem we have is that my guess would be that the Police Lobby Association is already quite prepared to show how the results of their work means they should spend the money on more officers in schools. Well, one of the reasons counselors need to have their data ready is so they can show that school counseling and other support services are really what we need to do with those funds. So if you come down here further, you'll notice down on, let's see, the next one right here, it says they're going to equip the proper training and evidence-based school disciplines. They can deter crime with their presence and advanced community policing. Notice that they refer to the police officers as evidence-based school discipline policies, that they're actually assigning, I don't know if you saw this, the resource officers as teachers and counselors. Does anyone notice that? Can I get a thumbs up? Does anyone ever read that and wonder why in the world would they be stating that resource officers, you know, are in roles as teachers and counselors? You know, it does make me a little nervous that if they're going to be funding this, that are we ready? Is the profession ready to respond to this with results? On a national scale, we know ASCA is doing amazing things. ASCA has been a part of contributing to this and many other documents, and many state associations are doing a terrific job. But on the local level, is the school counseling program really ready to address when an argument comes forth that says what they really want to do is be able to fund something other than school counselors? They want to fund law enforcement in schools. But if you go down further, it says $150 million is going to be available here. It's going to encourage schools, counselors, social workers to utilize their models of best paradigms. You know, if we're going to begin to show how that fund should go towards school counselors and social workers, we really need to make sure we have our data ready. So these are some of the reasons why results are going to be important for us. And here's another piece of it here that states that they could use it says they can use safety grants to purchase safety equipment or update safety plans. And although it doesn't specifically mention school counselors, we do know that we lead and participate in crisis intervention in schools all of the time. Many ways here. I'm going to scoot down a little further into this document. They want to have reliable plans. They really want to know how are they going to spend this money and ensure that the plan is available for them. So let's go further into creating a safe school climate. Whoops, I might have gone a little too far. There you are. So it says here, one of the best things that schools can do is reduce violence and bullying and improve the climate and increase the trust and communication. It says, fortunately, we have already identified strategies. Has your school identified the strategies? Do we know what the data is at your school? How big a problem is violence and data at your school? How big a problem is bullying? Because they're talking about evidence-based strategies. There are many evidence-based strategies for violence prevention, bully prevention, many of the things on the SAMHSA website and on the Do What Works websites that counselors can look at. This document here is really giving people guidelines, and yes, it isn't law yet, but it is giving the guidelines for how people will end up spending their funds. $50 million for 8,000 more schools to train teachers and other staff members. Well, who better to train teachers and other staff members than school counselors if they're appropriately trained to do so? So as I go through this document, you can see there's many ways, many decisions that are going to have to be made. And when they make the decisions, we hope that as they collect and disseminate best practices, that part of the best practices that they're collecting and disseminating are connected to the work of a school counselor and a comprehensive program for students in schools. It means that we really have to know what works, what time on what doesn't. I'm going to scroll through here a little more. I might have gone too far. Patience, thank you. There we go. There it is, mental health services. As we look at the school counselor with mental health services, they're talking about reaching 750,000 students. They're going to need to be training teachers and adults to recognize to be able to recognize young people who need help. Well, who will those teachers be, and what kind of services will they provide? And if they're entering our campuses, how will we really measure the impact of that? As school counselors, I know you've come on this to talk about data and results, but I hope that you can see how, as decisions are made, they're going to be looking to see what impact does a counseling program make, what impact does a social worker program make, what impact does a school psychology program make, what impact will having school resource officers, metal detectors, and law enforcement make. So these are the kinds of things that I hope you'll take a good look at this document, and I hope you'll begin to share it with others. You're talking about $25 million for state strategies for mental health. You're talking about breaking the cycle of violence, $25 million to offer mental health services. So much resources available. Who better to coordinate that than the practicing professional school counselor? Who better to be the broker of resources and the broker of all of the different prevention and intervention services than the professional school counselor? To do that, we need to have our data, and we need to show what does our data show as our need, what are our interventions, how are they evidence-based, particularly if the police association is using an evidence-based model approach, and we as school counselors should be as well. So this is that document. I'm going to pause for a second and see if I do have any question or tweet about this document before I move on to the next one, because we have so much to talk about tonight.
And again, folks, remember that I'll be monitoring a social network for her while she's doing this. And so if you do have a question to pose to Trish, make sure to use the hashtag SCOA. I'm also monitoring Google+, so if you want to post there. I know that I was a little bit behind posting a link there, so I apologize. But so we'll take some questions, and one of them looks like, Trish, that says more school counselors or more police officers in our school. The President of the United States planned for school safety. School counselors need to share that data. What are your thoughts on that?
They absolutely do, and I think that's the problem, is that we haven't got a good job of really looking at our data and collecting our data and saying, well, what does it look like? What are the needs of our schools? Are we providing random acts of interventions in our schools, or are we really focusing our interventions on where our data is needed? You know, have we looked to see where's most of the discipline coming from? You know, I was with a school district not too long ago, and they're still not collecting any referral data. So if a counselor wanted to look and say which school, which grade level really needs most of the interventions, they hadn't collected any data to know that. Well, it makes it kind of hard to design a program to provide an intervention when we don't have any data to really see what the concerns are and where they lie. So using referral data, using what we have in many places like California Healthy Kids or youth behavior referral data, gives you an idea of where the needs are in your school. So we've done with the first document. I will take more questions, but if you're doing Happy Hour Hangout, it's time to take a sip because we want to just have a little moment of refreshment before we move on to our very next document. Oh, I needed that. You know, can I just have a moment of transparency here? Not too long ago, I switched from PC to Mac, and I felt like I was driving on the wrong side of the freeway, really. And they were all coming at me, and I couldn't figure out where I was going or what I'm doing. So imagine I'm still on the wrong side of the freeway, driving the wrong way, and now, I don't know, I ran out of gas or I lost my map. I mean, tonight has been an amazing adventure because we've lost connectivity. I'm on somebody else's, and I'm driving someone else's car because this is someone else's laptop. But we're still doing it because it's important, because you took the time to be here, and because it's Happy Hour Hangout with Hatch, and you know it's my first one, and God help me, we're going to do this as often as possible till I get it right, which is exactly what I want you to do with data and collecting results. Do it to learn something. What do you do different next time? How will I improve my practice? That's what I'm going to have to do here as well. So one more sip, I'm going to go on to our next document. Somewhere around a quarter of, I get to open up a good bottle. If you all have a recommendation, I'll see what I have. I'm serious about that. Okay, our next document is the... Uh-oh, what'd you say?
I said only if you share with the rest of us.
Yeah, well, we can hold it up and see. All right, so let's look at the Common Core. I don't know if any of you have seen this Common Core or not. You're going, why is this on here? What's this got to do with results? Well, it has a lot to do with results because here it is. I talked about that miracle question. You wake up, a miracle occurs, what's happened? For me, the first miracle was President Obama put inside of his plan school counselors. Monstrous, a national document with school counselors in it. I'm amazed and impressed, and it's about darn time. I mean, how long has it been since school counselors were at a national level like this? What, NDEA or something? This is amazing. And it's not only that school counselors are being talked about in terms of the personal social realm. I mean, it's horrible that it had to have something like what happened in Newtown for some counselors to be mentioned. And the fact that it is now means that we're importantly being counted on in a very important way to say, look, school counselors, you're actually being called on right now. You're being called on right now to be leaders. You're being called on right now to partner in working on solving this problem. And if we don't use our data to show that the funding that we're using to hire counselors to make a difference is going to improve violence in our schools and improve discipline and improve climate, then they may as well spend it on something. When I talk about the miracle occurred, the other piece of miracle is the Common Core. So do I share my screen? Oh, I have my screen up. Can you see both of those on there? The Common Core?
Not yet.
Okay, how am I going to share my screen again with you?
Yep.
Oh gosh, here we go. See, I love having to figure this out. Hold on. Share my screen. Okay, and I like that. And screen share.
There we go. You're all set.
Nice. I'm learning, you see? And you'll learn data. We're all going to learn together. This is what I like about counselor types. We help each other out. See, I'm going to put my glasses back on. Now, this is a wonderful document because it's interesting. Some people might say we don't see ASCA's name on here. And you know what? The beauty of this document is that ASCA's in it, and other people are talking about them. I mean, it's one thing when you talk about yourself at the round table. It's another thing when places like College Summit, NASP, and NAESP talk about you. I mean, when they talk about you and it's good, that's really cool. So school counselors are involved in the Common Core and state standards. Let's take a look at it. Now, I'm not going to go through all these pieces because if I did, it would take the whole night. But I want to just show you occasionally a few pieces. You're going, wow, there's a lot to go through. I know. It's because the color version I had is on my computer. This isn't mine, so I'm going to find it. We're punting. We're doing a good job. Look at this right here. For building leaders and counselors. Notice, it says right there next to building leaders, counselors. I love that. Talks about looking at identifying research, applying our knowledge to content areas, all of these things that I want people to do. Gonna scoot forward. Gonna scoot forward. I want you to see what's in this Common Core document. These are the shifts that are happening with Common Core. I'm going to scoot down in here. This is a very interesting piece. It means that the Common Core is going to be having focused projects, clear, coherent writing. They're going to focus on problem solving, persevering, reasoning deeply. If you haven't had a training in the Common Core yet, if I nutshelled it for you, it would be to say that the way teachers are going to need to teach is a little bit changing, because it's not just giving information back, it's also problem solving and persevering. And so what does that mean for the school counselor? What this group is asking counselors to do is understand the Common Core, support the Common Core, and act on the Common Core. This is a very quick lesson. I'm going to give you all these documents. I'll upload them. You can have them. I'll find a place for you to get them. I know Jeff will help me with that. You going to help me with that, Jeff? Good, he's nodding. I'm going through it. Look, you're going to support it. Now, here's the part that gets good. For counselors to support the Common Core, they want us to make issues of college and career readiness relevant for all counselors across all grade level, not just high school. Common Core readiness, K through 12, awesome. Let's look at the next thing. Develop comprehensive school plans. Okay, can I just tell you this is the coolest thing ever? You see, if you go back to the beginning of that document, the folks that were there, National Elementary School Principal Association, National Secondary School Principal Association, they're saying align what you do with ASCA, create standards-based lessons, all of these things that we're talking about. It's terrific because school counselors are now being asked to do this work. This section here talks about how do we support the school when teachers are resistant. You can read that piece later. We could do a whole session on that if you'd like. I'm going to give you one more piece of this down here, a little more. I know I'm going fast. You're like, what's all this scrolling going on? It's just killing me. Patience. Sit back. And we'll sit. Tap you out. We're going to get into the part that are for counselors right about. I went too far. There we go. For instructional practices, the school counselors need to determine the Common Core systemic approaches, update their annual 6-year plans, develop college readiness lesson plans, develop a calendar. Here it is. There it is. Look. Present and share your action plans to ensure all students are receiving this. An action plan includes what are they getting, when are they getting, what are the outcomes, is it making a difference, what are the students learning, being part of the school team, being part of the data teams, participating in professional development, setting expectation with your counseling plans. This document is asking you to use data to identify the needs, and there it is, and monitor the progress. This document says that school counselors are responsible in their schools to implement the Common Core, and I share this with you because one of the most common complaints I get is that counselors say, well, teachers don't let us in the classroom. Well, guess what? You're now required by Common Core the same way every other subject area is, and counselors are expected, given this document, to be part of data teams, leadership teams, using their data, identifying their students' needs, monitoring their progress. This is the part down here that I'm working on tonight, familiarizing myself with social media. Whew. Here's some more good ASCA language. Write a philosophy, have a belief system, get buy-in, start with the low-hanging fruit. So I'm going to stop here. There's so much more there. I hope that you can see that this document, and as I said on my little announcement today, so important. I'll go back to the top. It's called Implementing the Common Core. You can go on the Achieve website and download it and share it with people. This is the trifecta: knowledge, attitudes, and skills regarding, this is regarding the academic, the career, and the personal social domains. All 3 domains of our profession are now being shared nationally. Okay, and this is a very exciting thing. Now am I back on with you? Just you now? Good. Looks like it. This is exciting because if we are being nationally recognized for expectations of service delivery in violence prevention, in college and career planning, in academic as connected to standards, this completely integrates the school counseling program with all 3 domains. And it comes with language of, you saw in both documents, evidence-based and data and monitoring and progress. That's a lot. That's 2 documents. What do I get to do now? Take a breath. Have a little of this. And now you're saying, okay, data and results. So, this is my Pellegrino. Cheers. Happy hour. Happy hour. That sounds good. All right. So, what is next? I would like to share with you a sample of some results PowerPoints. And before I do that, I just want to say one thing about results. It's fun. I was recently working in the district, and they said, "Oh no, you're not going to like this." And I said, "What am I not going to like?" And they said, "Well, gosh, we're doing the measure now. We're not doing the SCOA model." I'm like, "Well, what's your problem with that?" And they're like, "Well, you know, you're the SCOA model, like co-author, right?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah." And they're like, "Well, we're doing the measure." I'm like, "Well, that's great." They're like, "But like, isn't that different?" I'm like, "Look, I don't care how you share your results. Just get some. Seriously, get some. Think about what data do you have. Look at it. Analyze it. If you want to share it on a Spark, you want to share it on a measure, you want to share it on a flashlight, that's what I'm going to show you. My goal is for counselors to begin to share results, all results, in many ways you can. And you need to start small. You can't measure everything you do, so begin to share something you do. And the measure, which is written by 2 good friends of mine, Carol Dayhere and Carolyn Stone, they talk about how you would use their model in a way that helps you design an activity, implement it, and show results. You know, Bob Tyre is a dear friend of mine. He shows about the Spark and how you take your results and you share it with the Spark. I do the flashlight because I want school counselors to have a way to share in a PowerPoint presentation with their stakeholders. Here's a visual representation of what the counselors are doing that makes a difference. I do that because I found that helps. SCOA has people put it on a results report and then apply for ramp. Do it. Do it all. Do anything you can. Share the results. Share your successes. Show how your program is making a difference. Keep counselors at the forefront, because school counselors are now perfectly positioned in national documents to be able to show that what they do does make a difference. And up until recently, we have had a tremendous problem with not having legitimacy in this area. And this is a huge concern. So I want to show you a few things. Gosh, I've got to watch my time. So much to do here. Okay, a couple of things. Hold on, I got to get a little something. Okay, if you haven't read Kingdon, I'm going to give it to you very quickly. Kingdon says you got problems, you got politics, and you got policies. So we have a problem. Yes, we have violence. We have kids not graduating. We have policies. Yes, they're going to try to create policies like I just showed you with the Common Core and with the new Time Is Now. And you have politicians. Yes, you have President Obama and others trying to use that to get it. Well, you can do that in your schools too. What is your problem in your school? What policies you want to put around it? And how can you pull this off politically to get them to show that your results are making that difference? The school counselors are perfectly positioned to do that work if they're ready to take on the challenge. It can be hard when you're first trying. So I'm going to give you an example, and I've got to pull this down. Uh-oh, you probably don't know where I went. What are they getting to see now, I wonder? Just me, I hope still. Even
You're
though I'm
still broadcasting. You're okay.
Yes, and I moved me away. So I'm going to show you a couple of flashlight documents, and I'll take you through how we're going to do this. I'm going to share my screen again. All right, and what I like to do is call it the flashlight approach. So here we go with my screen sharing. Hopefully. Is it on yet? Did we sheets here?
Yep, you're good. Just look at your files right now.
Good. So this is a sample of an action plan. And if you're familiar with SCOA, you know that we have action plans with SCOA. And I'm trying to pull this up here. Let me pull this one. Okay. Now this is a high school. I don't know what levels people are that are with me today. I have lots of different samples here. But if you're familiar with ASCII, you know that we have action plans. So this one, I'm going to do it quickly. Again, everything I'm showing you I can make available to you later. But this one is A through G requirements, which is high school graduation requirements. And over here in perception data, you have attitudes, knowledge, and skills, and then achievement and achievement-related data. Now, as I sit here talking to people, I have no idea how many folks, what their experiences are in terms of working with ASCII's action plans, but I'm really hoping that you have some experience with it because I'm going to move forward a little bit. And
hey, Trish.
Yes.
So we're still on your file explorer. So you need to, once you open up your document, you need to do the screen share again and go straight to that document. So we're not looking at your PowerPoint if that's what your intention is.
Okay. Well, I was trying to do that, yes. So let's see.
Maybe.
This is how you're teaching me. That's okay. Yep. I'll teach you.
Learn by doing.
Learn by doing.
So screen share to your PowerPoint.
Pardon me?
Screen share to your PowerPoint now.
Okay. So screen share, my PowerPoint's trying to open up. So what happens when you use somebody else's flashlight or PowerPoint? You have to hope that it'll open up the way you want it to, when you want it to. You know, that's just life. And you're looking at the other screen, or me, or what?
We're looking at you.
You're looking at me? Well, here. Happy hour. Yeah. Okay. This is a high school. Now, I have a lot of other ones I could have shared with time more, but this is a high school. Can you see that now? Are you?
Not yet.
Are you screen shared yet? Okay, hold on one more time. I'm going to screen share you now. And that one, and go.
There we go.
Ta-da! See that? Okay, so this is a sample of a flashlight. Now, a flashlight to me is when you pick one thing you want to share the results of. Counselors do a million things a day. You can't measure everything you do, you'd lose your mind. So you try to measure something you do and give your faculty an idea. So imagine that you're your faculty right now, and the counselors are presenting this. And these, by the way, these are two great graduate students at the bottom. We have all our graduate students at San Diego State do flashlight PowerPoints as a result to share their results. So what we ask them to do is first, go through basically taking the action plan and following it through, but putting it in a presentation to their faculty. So I'll present right now that I am presenting this to you, and you're the faculty. So if you want to sit and listen, I'll take you through it. So we would say, hi, we're so glad you've been able to come to our presentation today. We're going to talk about the results of our classroom guidance lesson. So first, what did we do? Well, we worked with 300 ninth graders. They received A through G lesson. In California, that means high school graduation requirements lesson, which includes counselor-generated PowerPoint. And we did it November to March and in our homeroom. What did our lesson consist of? This is part from your action plan. This is telling the story. Our lesson consisted of an anticipatory set, a PowerPoint, an activity. We reviewed, and then they had 2 days. They did the second day they did a challenge activity, an interactive game where they worked on their college preparatory applications and answering questions, and then a conclusion. Everything we do, we have the students connected to standards, so we always have a national standards piece and the competencies. And then we say, well, why did we do this? It's always important to ask why you did what you did. Well, the reason they did it is because although they have a graduation rate that's very high, they have an eligibility rate that's going in a different direction. So, and this is data that came from before. You can see that while they were improving in terms of, as compared to another school, a like school, there was improvement at the like school in terms of graduating college eligible. This school was not improving. It actually was going in a direction in terms of CSU USC eligibility. So they said, we actually don't like the direction we're headed in there. We'd like to figure out why it is that students aren't graduating more college eligible, even though most are graduating, and we'd like to address that issue. And so we always like to throw in a little research that talks about why this would matter, and here they're sharing that the ninth grade is a critical year, and we really need to get the skills that the students need early to graduate, and we need to get them headed on early there. So we collect our process, perception, and results data, our attitudes. Most students really agreed that completing assignments would help affect their grade. Most students agreed that their grades, their attendance every day affected their grades. And this was for 9th graders. And there was a whole series of pre-post tests, questions, but these are just a few they shared with their faculty. But one of the things they found out was that the students actually didn't know which courses counted for college prep and which did. So, for instance, on this one, you can see that I believe taking college courses will help them prepare for college. Well, this is nice to see that they had a stronger agreement here and that went in the right direction. Again, with attitudes, believing that taking college prep courses will help them prepare for a career too. That was nice to see. Some kids probably thought it was mostly just for college, but it also prepares for career. But here's where it gets really interesting. The students actually were confused around which courses counted for college prep, and so they increased their knowledge base. You know, how many students are required, semester units are required for lab science. Here's a sample, and they did improve that. They realized that there was a big increase of students who now know the required semester units. There is a nice improvement also in knowing the semester units recommended for A through G in lab science, because prior to that, you can see the students were basically guessing. It's kind of easy to see that their answers are all over the place there. Here you can see there's a huge increase of students not knowing what grade they need in order to be eligible. And that's important. You know, a 9th grader, you're not sure which grade is going to count for college prep, so that makes a difference. So now you have knowledge, attitudes, and skills here. Here's the skills here. Which course the student's schedule does not fulfill A through G? And they had to analyze the student's schedule that they were looking at. And of course, the students, you can see at first thought that the jazz ensemble would be the one that didn't fulfill it, but that wasn't true. It actually was unifying algebra and geometry that was the one that didn't fulfill it. So this was important and significant because students really were enrolling in some of the wrong classes. Well, the goal here was to show that when students, we want students' behavior to change. We want them to raise their grades. We want them to take school seriously. We want them to enroll in the right classes. We also want them to change their course enrollment patterns, which is achievement-related data. And in doing that, we will impact student achievement. So in results data, you can see here that now counselors don't get all the credit for this. We never want to take all the credit. We're always sharing our credit with everyone. But you can see here the progress before and after. We had a nice improvement in students' GPAs. Doesn't mean we get all the credit for that. But what are we aiming for? We're aiming for, with the knowledge of students getting A through G requirements, we expect them to take, that fewer students will take non-college prep classes. That's what we really want. We want students to take college prep courses. And one of the challenges was the students really didn't know which ones were which. And that was why it was so important for the counselors to go in the classrooms. Here, what are they aiming for? An improvement of students who graduate college eligible. And it's always nice to show a little qualitative data here. Student quotes about what it is that they felt about the lessons, and then the summary. In summary, students made connections, they gained some valuable information. The scheduling, you know, you always share your limitations. What were your challenges? What could you have done differently? And again, here, you can see that they're giving some feedback on what they might have done differently. And then what they learned. Having a discussion with administration and other staff members to see if they can do it during class periods. Improving their pre-post tests. And then always the next step. What are we going to do next time? Where are we ready to go? How are we going to improve it next time? This is just a short presentation they can do with their faculty. Yes, I'm going through quickly. Yes, I'll get you copies. Yes, I'll get you everything you want. What I want to give you an idea of an example of a PowerPoint. Now, I'm imagining here what, I'm seeing if I'm back on with you. Is that right, my friend? Good, thank you. So when you look at this, you can see that the school counselors here were trying to share with their faculty what they did that made a difference. And the idea being that you want to share with your students the knowledge, the attitudes, and the skills. And not the students the knowledge, attitudes, and skills, but that you want to share with your faculty how what you did made that difference. And no, you're not responsible for all of the changes that are occurring, but we're trying to move the data together in a meaningful way in the right direction. That the purpose of the counselors doing this program is to help the students gain the knowledge, attitudes, and skills they need to be college and career ready. And again, that's part of what the Common Core is asking for us. So that particular one is designed to help students meet the Common Core. I want to take you to this diagram here right now. Start screen share on this diagram. I hope that comes up. Now this is a little scary, but I'm going to backwards walk you through what we did. What the counselors did in that flashlight was they shared the process data, what they did, when they did, where they did it. And then they collected students' knowledge, attitudes, and skills. And they're hoping the students have a behavior change in that they're going to enroll in course enrollment patterns that will lead to students graduating college and career ready. So this is the thinking that the guidance curriculum, or what ASCA now calls core curriculum, takes the counselor's thinking from what did I do and why did I do it, through the idea that all students need to gain the knowledge, attitudes, and skills they need so that their behavior changes. When the behavior is changing, we have to think, what kind of behavior are we hoping to change? What behavior are we trying to improve in our students? Well, in this particular example, we were trying to improve course enrollment patterns. And we want students to take school seriously. There was a little bit of discussion on attendance. And then finally, we hope that when students have the right attendance, they have behavior that's appropriate, they're doing their homework, they're enrolled in the right classes, well, more are going to graduate college eligible. Now, if all of this looks new to you, some of the language, this picture is one of the pictures that was included in the evidence-based practice book by my amazing colleagues, Carrie Dimmitt, Jay Carey, and myself, who wrote the evidence-based practice book. And these concepts here of process, perception, and results data are the ways you evaluate data. And then these are the competency attainment, achievement-related, and achievement data are the types of data that you collect. But you want to be able to have a thinking around what am I doing, and then what do I hope students get in terms of knowledge, attitudes, and skills, and then how do I hope that that improves something that improves student achievement. And then on the other side of it, this intentional piece, when students aren't doing well, or they're not attending or behaving or achieving, well, let's go this direction and say, well, what might be the reason students aren't graduating college eligible? Maybe, in fact, they need to actually be enrolled in better courses. Maybe it's because their discipline is an issue. Maybe it's attendance that's an issue. Well, what behavior do we need to change? Why don't we just figure out, well, are they not doing homework because they don't know how to do it, or they don't believe it matters? Are they not attending school because they don't know what time school starts, or maybe they just don't, they're not motivated? Are they not enrolling in the right classes because they don't believe it matters? Or do they not know how to do that, or have the skill to discern which courses are really college prep and which aren't, and which ones they need looking at their transcript? Well, all of this is a lot for a Friday night hangout when we're trying to just relax, isn't it? Is it time almost for us to get a little bit of a real happy hour going? What I'd like to do now, oh, we just finished one more thing. Oh, 9 minutes. I got 9 minutes, right? Do I get to go over for the same amount that I was late on, or how does that work, Jeff? I just want to know.
You can go as long as you want. I might not be here. People watching might not be here, but...
Oh, all right. Well, all right. Yeah, no, that's all right. Hey, here's one other thing I want to share with you. There's a couple of other things I want to share with you that has to do with addressing the first one. And if you just be patient with me for a second while I pull this one up, I got to pull up a Dropbox document that I want to check out, because the flashlight I just shared with you had to do with the flashlight I just shared with you was the one around that's connected to Common Core, kind of. And now the one I want to share with you is connected to what counselors would be doing in the violence prevention arena. And I take this from the work of some wonderful counselors in San Marcos who are implementing the, let me pull this one up and then go get my chat, bring it up, my Hangout, who are implementing a violence prevention grant. And I want to share this results with you, this piece of results with you, so that now you can see that I have results aligned with each of these types of documents. So I hope this works for us.
So Trish,
so here is, yes.
So get out of your
Yes,
presentation, because we're not seeing your presentation, we're seeing your PowerPoint. Just go through this screen right here. So just click on each next slide, just like that.
Like do that?
Yep, because we're not seeing your PowerPoint presentation, so you're all set just like that.
You mean with the last one it never moved?
No, but it's okay. We'll post it up there. That'll be fine.
Dude, you got to interrupt me next time.
He was halfway through when I noticed.
That's no problem. We're all good here. I'm so sorry. That must have been so boring for you all. Well, if you hung in there with me, and if you're really having a happy hour, then thanks, because you deserve it. You're hardworking school counselors, and the world needs you, and you just got to hang in there with us, because I'm pushing hard on the results, because it's a way we're going to continue to show that we're worth that funding and nothing else. So let's take it through. And now, is it good to go?
Yes.
All right. I hope you don't mind that on this one I might skip a few slides if they appear redundant, but I'm going to try to wrap this around a flashlight model. Again, the flashlight model is really about showing, not everything in the world that counselors do, but some of the things that they do that make a difference there. And this one here is actually around a grant that was implemented, and I want to share it because as a result of this data in this grant, after the funding ran out, they kept the school counselors. They kept them because they showed what they were doing was making a difference. So I think it's very important that counselors do begin to share the results of the work they do in ways that can visually be shared with their stakeholders. This was several schools working together on behalf of all the elementary counselors, putting together the resources and saying, we're going to show our board how our elementary counseling program is making a difference and getting results, and we're going to connect that to the things that are really important. So I appreciate your patience as I go through and share some slides a little in more depth than others. Again, this was a grant that funded new school counselors that they'd never had before in schools. It was $400,000 a year. They had social worker and school counselors working together. The grant was actually written based on the important work of the on the frontline schools. And they talk about how schools need to develop early warning systems and appropriate mechanisms that trigger an intervention. And this is hugely important for us as you think about that first document I brought up tonight, the one of now's the time, the Obama document, because if counselors are looking to make a proposal about what they could do with the funds, using a document like On the Front Lines here gives you some of the ideas around developing early warning systems and developing mechanisms to trigger an appropriate intervention. Because if you wait till 9th grade, it's too late. And so, let me go back over here. So Building a Grad Nation also has the same recommendation in it. Building a Grad Nation, if you can see this, it says again, track early warning indicators of prevention of dropout, collect attendance data, collect behavior data, get your data, benchmark data, and begin to show people the difference that counselors are making. And we need to really provide those supports. So they're asking counselors to track early warning indicators. The idea behind this grant was that school counselors would provide social worker and counselors, provide prevention that leads to reducing school discipline problems, attendance, and N's and U's. And they would improve school climate and improve student achievement. That's the little story. Much aligned with ASCA, Curriculum for All. And it's a new model, we need to change that to school core curriculum. And what intervention for some and individual for few. This is the school-wide core. Then the middle is the intervention piece, and the top, of course, being those that we see and then we might refer out. And so they had a school-wide goal that included all students receiving social-emotional competencies, and then a school-wide lessons. So they had classroom guidance lessons on second step, they had prevention weeks, they had diversity lessons, study skills, peace patrols, all of these school-wide lessons, very similar to what most school counselors do. And then they began to collect results. They looked at their data. Do kids hit and push you at school when they're not just playing around? And they looked for an improvement. And you can see here a nice improvement in the never category. It was very nice. When they're looking at classroom behavior at a different school, how many times do kids spread mean rumors about you? You're looking for the direction of improvement in 0 and down in 1. That's nice. Here, classroom guidance, school-wide behavior, an increase in the E's and a decrease in the N's, meaning when they looked at the work skills and study habits, more kids were getting an excellent and less were getting N's and U's in work skills and study habits. At this school, less students were in the responsibility room. You can see the decrease is nearly 50%. So that was one of the goals. Another goal was to decrease behavior referrals, to decrease N's and U's on the report card and on life skills, work skills, and study habits, and to decrease unexcused absences. And so the counselors sought about to collect the data by using what I like to call a fishnet approach, to go out and actively look for the data to find which students need that intervention. And then they set about to do an intervention with small groups and individual, and they worked with their social worker on attendance interventions. And then they collected their results. Now, those of you who know the model know that this is process data. These are how many students who were served. And then if you go down, and this is how many students participated. But then we want perception data and outcome data. Here's some nice outcome data. Students' ends and U's decreased. 40% decreased ends and U's on this. And in an 8-week group for self-control and following direction and academic building. Here, we had a nice increase in effort grades. Again, less N's and U's, more E's and S's. At a different school, they had students who decreased their N's and U's throughout the year in friendship skills and anger management. You know, 10 kids put at that school, big difference it made. Look at how much of the improvement that you have. Here, this is just one particular child to give an example of how they felt about the intervention. Collecting some data and showing that the student says that they felt like a loser, but now they feel better. My teacher likes me too, he said. It's hard on the heart, that one. Goal setting. Students in another school had N's and U's decrease and E's and S's increase. And you say that's all great, but what's really happening to academics? Well, counselors don't get all the credits, but this is an interesting slide to say, you know, it happens to be that 14 out of 20 students, 22 students showed improvement in their CSTs, their state test scores. That's a nice data set. This one's your money slide. This is the one right here, this slide. If I showed nothing else, boy, there's a lot of slides so far, but look at this one. These 3 schools, when you look at this, I'm going to make that 100% because I want you to really see that one. These 3 schools show, look at those discipline referrals. Those schools all had a full-time school counselor for the first time ever. Look at those referrals. If you didn't show anything but that, that is worth funding. Look at this attendance. Look at the reduction in absences. Look at the money earned because of it. Look at the next slide, the decrease in truancy. These are simple ways to create slides that show, wow, in an instant with a picture, this is the visual of what happened. And that decrease in truancy there became the money slide for why it was that those school counselors were funded again by their school district. They received recognition from the Spark, they were in their state magazine, they had an article in the newspaper, and they shared the results. So yes, we always also share limitations and recommendations, and they wanted to continue their program with funding and apply for more grants. But I share this sample with you because I'm going to pull out of it now and come back, because as you're thinking about those earlier data pieces, the documents I showed you personal social, and I showed you the personal social and the academic and career, meaning the time is now, violence prevention, and also the violence prevention time is now, and also the Common Core. Between those 2 documents, we're talking about academic, career, and personal social domains. These 2 just quick samples of results, these 2 different programs and different ways of showing it through a flashlight. I'll give you a little bit of idea about how counselors begin to use results. But the most important part of using results is that we show that the services we're doing are really helping our students, and that we can continue the funding, and that we continue to keep our services for kids. You know, it's a very political time coming up, and people are going to be making very important decisions about how to spend their money. And when it comes to how you fund that, we really need to show that what the school counselor does makes a difference. You know, I once interviewed a counselor, and we said, how are you going to know, people are going to know you made a difference, and or how do you know at the end of the day that what you did made a difference? And she said, you know, when I feel good at the end of the day, then that's results. But I need to tell you, that's just not going to be good enough anymore with our dollars. We need to get some results going. I have my little shirt, hatching results, hatch our results, share it with stakeholders, begin to show that what you're doing is making a difference. It is Friday night, it is 6:02. I'm wondering, is it now time to do a real cheers? I want to say to my school counselors, I'm going to take my Han, and I am going to now say to you, if you're still here, I'm actually going to take my Han, and I'm going to say, we get to celebrate National School Counselor Week. You know, if you hung in there with me tonight, I've got to tell you, one of the most challenging things I've ever done today was figure out, how am I going to pull this off? I have no internet connection. I don't have my own computer. I can't figure out how to find my own PowerPoint slides. And if you got anything out of tonight, and I know it's my first time doing this, then I say it's worth it. I took a risk. I could have bailed. I didn't, because you matter. The students you serve matter. And it's all about supporting the profession of school counseling. Improve your program, improve your practice, improve our profession, because our students need you. And if you want to stick around and ask me questions, I'm here. But for now, I want to say cheers. Happy School Counselor Week. Thank you for the service you give our children. I wear my grandson's name because I want him to have school counselors someday. And I remember when I talk to school counselors that the difference we make in the lives of children every day may not be known in that data slide, but it'll be known in their hearts. And you might say, but how do I measure that? Okay, so maybe you can't. But if you don't measure something, you can't be there to do that other as well. And so we have to show that what we're doing is making a difference, so we can be there to do the things that maybe you can't measure now. Maybe you can't see the outcome of now. But you know, and that student knows, you made a difference. So we need to show that every day when we're with students, and every time we think about how we spend our day, is it data-driven? Do we happen to our day? Does it happen to us? How are we going to prepare ourselves to show the stakeholders who will spend money belongs to school counselors, to supporting students, and making that difference in their lives? So I hope you'll think. I'd like to do another happy hour. I'd like to do it on my and I'd like very much to do it with better connection. But to those who are on the East Coast, hunker down and take good care, and make sure that you spend some time being with family and playing Scrabble and having fun for the weekend so you're ready for kids on Monday morning. I say cheers to you. I'm going to drink to you.
So if anybody has any questions, is that it sounds like Trish is willing to hang out, and we'll take.
Oh yeah.
We'll hang out for a couple minutes and see if anything pops up on Twitter. Just make sure to use that hashtag SCOA, the initials of School Counseling on Air, and we can monitor that. I haven't seen any really questions that look like pop up. There's a few comments that Trish can address probably later, but if you have any specific questions regarding data. I have one kind of.
Okay.
So like basically I'm starting a new program at my school, and I feel like that's the best time to start gathering data instead of having to work backwards. What concrete steps, like in general, should I be taking between now and the end of the year to kind of get that going?
And as I was pulling up, you want to take concrete steps to begin to start a data-driven program at your school.
Right.
Okay. So one of the things that the new NASCA model has, which is great, is a new data template inside of it. And so I would take a look at the template and I'd ask yourself, what kind of data is already accessible and available that connects to the work of school counselors? Are there data systems in place? For instance, attendance. How do you collect attendance data? I was working with a district that actually didn't collect attendance data. They didn't have to turn that in for ADA like other schools do. Well, that's a problem for the school counselor. How do you know which kids aren't attending if there's no centralized way? So I guess I'd first look at the systems and say, are my systems in place to collect data to begin with? Is there a way through ARIES or through whatever type of student database system you have to collect that data? So to make sure your system's in place, your policies and practices are in place, so there's a consistent way that we know what does a truancy mean, what does an absence mean, what is a referral. I don't know what grade level you're at, but some schools don't monitor referrals and they don't write down referrals, and it's really hard for a counselor to know which kid has multiple referrals if you can't find data to show that. I'm kind of a stickler around that, because if we only use referral data in terms of a handwritten teacher referral, then maybe it is that all we're seeing is the kids that teachers refer. I'd like to imagine that school counselors are using that fishnet approach, and they're scooping up the kids who have multiple attendance, behavior, and achievement issues. So think about the systems first of what is and what isn't, and begin right now to put the mechanisms and the policies and procedures in place, and partner with your teacher leaders and your administrative leaders to begin to think about what do we have to put in place to make sure we have good data to look at, accurate data, that can give us the information we need to make decisions. Find out who on your school might want to be on a database decision-making team and begin to think about those pieces. Because if we just pull out random acts of data and we don't think about if they're collected with fidelity and they're not good data, then it doesn't really help us either. So there's one thing if you're elementary that's terrific, little work skills and study habits component. People often forget about that. That's good data. If it depends on which level you're at. If you're at high school, what do you want to know? Credit efficiency, credit deficiency, graduation rates, graduation college eligible. There's so many types of data. And I think that between now and the end of the year, rather than deciding tomorrow which data will I go after, I'd like to see us set up a system of conversation around, let's talk about what data matters. Let's talk about what data can we access now? What does it look like? Where are our gaps and our needs? And how can we begin to plan a program for next year that will address some of our needs and our gaps and begin to monitor student progress? So at this time of the year, I would begin the systems coordination and getting people on board and putting the programs and services in place to begin that work.
Okay. Awesome. Well, if anybody doesn't have any more questions, over here on the West Coast, it's dinner time, so I know I'm getting hungry. But yeah, unless you have anything to add, Trish, I think that we're pretty much wrapped up.
Well, what I'd really love is if any of you would like to give me some feedback, and I know that with a little better connection to my own computer, I know some of the things I can change on my side, but I'd really like to know if we did this again, what kind of things you'd really like to hear, and what is it that we can address your needs with if we ever do this again. So I thank you for coming. I enjoyed my first time. I took a risk doing social media. I'd like you to take a risk to go collect some results. Don't measure the whole world. Think about one lesson you do. Think about one curriculum lesson or one intervention you do. Measure some results. Begin to share the successes. Let it not only be a way to advocate for your program, but also let it be a way for you to learn about what worked, what didn't, what do I do better, and how do I improve my program for kids. Just like I will do tonight. What worked, what didn't, what will I do better, and how will I improve my Google Hangout for you. So thanks so much, and thank you to my buddy. Oh my God, what would I have done without you? I owe you, dude. You're awesome. Appreciate it very much.
We'll get these documents up, posted for you guys, and we'll post some links to our blogs and on Twitter and social media and such as soon as we get that up. It might not be tonight because it's Friday night and all, but sometime this weekend we'll get them up for you and we'll share them. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you. Don't forget, tomorrow night is with Dr. Erin Mason with Social Media Saturday. So if you are not on the social media bandwagon,
so don't forget her. And cheers, happy hour.
So have a great weekend, all, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Good night.